allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Public comments? Does anybody have any public comments? No? Okay. So we'll move on to the 18th, January 18th board meeting agenda.
Madam Chair, I'd move the board meeting agenda,
Okay,
January 18th.
here a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Were you gonna stroll?
Yep. Next we have the presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lamp, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for allowing us to come in and share a little bit. It's been a while since we've been here. I just come back, and I don't know that we've been before the board since I've been with LAMP, so it's been a little while. And just wanted to update everybody on where we are, what we're doing, how LAMP is still active in the community, and so yeah, that's what we're here for. I'm Amy Bergquist. I've been with LAMP since 2016, I think is when it was. So we've seen a lot of changes, a lot of growth, a lot of interesting stuff that has happened. LAMP was established in 2007. Yes. Okay. So this is our 15th year of serving families in the Meeker County area. We made our first match in 2008, and a little bit of history, a little bit of background on how we came to be. We had a district court judge that was seeing kids coming through his court system and repeatedly, and I said there has to be a better way. There has to be a different way to get to these families, to these kids, to get them support that they need. So he got a group of people together, probation, people that were in these kids' lives as well, and said, let's figure something out. Kiwanis was very involved in that, and I'm sure that there were several other businesses, other groups, and they researched the different, like Big Brothers versus Big Sisters. Kinship was another model that they researched. They chose to go with kinship, from what I understand, based on the kinship's model is you can, as a mentor, you can be an individual mentor as a couple, or mentor as a family. And that's different than Big Brothers Big Sisters, where it's basically just one-on-one, an adult volunteer and a youth. We love that opportunity. I think we have all of those right now. We have mentors that are just individuals, couples, and families. So it's really neat to see how that pours into the kids. Back up to when we started, and so they met. They decided that they're going to go with the kinship model, and they started making their matches in 2008. We have, since that time, in 15 years, I'm just going to count the last couple years. In 2019, we had, did you have those numbers?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So I'm Jenna Haney. I am the program coordinator for LAMP Kinship, and I started with LAMP in 2020, actually, in April. So right when COVID hit. So an interesting time to start in a new position, and to get to know get to know the community, because I'm new to the community as well, but get to know this new position. And when I started with LAMP, we had 17 active matches, and we have grown since then, even through COVID, 42%. So we are now at 27 matches, and We've also developed a new program, I guess, since the last time that we have spoken to you guys. That's Lunch Buddies, which is a program that the kids at school get to have a buddy go and eat lunch with them. And we facilitate that match, and we have been unable to get into the Litchfield School District since COVID, understandably. We are active in Dassel Cokato right now and have 9 lunch buddies that are meeting, I think weekly.
Every other week.
Every other week they meet and do and eat lunch together, which is a huge impact on these kids that that just need that person to show up for them. So our growth has been great even through COVID, and it's been a great experience for me to learn and to help the program grow, because I think it's so amazing and a really good asset to the community.
What we ask of our volunteer mentors is to get together with our kids with our traditional mentoring program, is to get together with the kids twice a month for a max, or for about 4 hours is what we're looking for. It's not a huge time commitment. And we ask that they commit to meet for 2 years, for a 2-year commitment.
Oh, yes, at least 2 years. Of course, we encourage them to go further. We have 9 matches currently that have been meeting for, or have been matched for over 5 years. So that's really promising. They have a really great relationship, and the kids have. I do surveys to figure out, you know, where they were and where they are now, and the kids have absolutely flourished and in their confidence and in their abilities, and yeah, just it's been a really great experience for both the mentor and the youth that they're matched with.
So that being said, and what we're seeing, one of the reasons that we called and wanted to come and present to you guys is when LAMP was set up, the county committed funds to for I believe it was first 5 years, they committed funds to LAMP. After that, those funds fell away. We are a nonprofit organization, and we survive on donations, grants, and private funding. We are looking in 2019, our expenses, just to keep the doors open. So wages, payroll taxes, program insurance that is required, and utilities like rent for our building, phones, that sort of a thing. In 2019, just those 4 expenses were $30,000. 2020 was less than that because we couldn't do as much. 2021, our expenses increased to $43,106. And the reason for that is we split my position. We used to have just one part-time person doing all of the stuff. We split that, so our wages increased. Our insurance has increased as well, and we anticipate another significant jump in our insurance just because of what's happening in the mentoring world. We see that coming. That's going to be an increased expense. So what we're looking for is some financial buy-in from the county to support our program. And again, basically to keep the doors open. We are asking for, I haven't come up with a number, but just to put before you guys that this is a need. Sustainable funding would be incredible. It would free us up to be able to use our grants, to be able to use our, our fundraising money to grow the program. To our goals are to increase and continue to serve. We are very established in 2 of the communities. There are several other communities in Meeker County that we would like to branch out and with funds from the county. Our board right now has representatives from probation on it, from the school district, retired law enforcement. All of these people see the importance of what we do, and we're asking the county to support that as well financially.
Do you have a waiting list for kids?
We do actually. When I started, our waiting list was 7 kids that had been waiting for an average of a year and a half. And right now we have a waiting list of 3 kids, and they've been waiting for under a year, all of them. So yeah, we do have a waiting list, but it's smaller. It's good. Yeah.
What's the ages of the children that can participate?
Here between 5 and 17.
And if you want to participate in the actual LAMP program, it's a 2-year commitment.
That's what we ask for.
That's what you asked for. I've heard, I know Tim is good. You've been on the Newsmaker
Yeah.
a few different times, and he helps to help you advertise for your various fundraisers, and so that's, how come Litchfield School won't participate? What's the deal?
In Lunch Buddies,
Yeah,
because of their COVID restrictions at
Oh,
this point.
okay.
It's, they did have it established before COVID hit, but they just haven't allowed volunteers to come into school in any capacity, so it's not just,
okay,
not just us, but even parents
Yeah.
aren't allowed in the buildings at this point.
I see.
Are we seeing some difference, some measurable differences in the children that are mentored for a period of time?
Yeah, there are many statistics that say that they're less likely to do drugs, they're more likely to go to school, less likely to skip. Their grades have increased, and I'm working actually currently on trying to get that specifically for our community. We have just general kids with mentors and how that affects them, but I would like to get our just for our LAMP kids, and so I am working on what's that called? Surveying them. Yes. So I've just been getting those back.
Yeah, and specifically to.
Paul?
Madam Chair, may I
Yes.
add? Historically, kinship programs have shown good value in most communities. We would like to have some more meaningful partnership with LAMP Kinship. So if the board would like, I would like to work with Amy. Maybe we could figure out a way that we could assist them in funding. If there were funding for LAMP Kinship, I would say that it would benefit the county to come through the social services budget and possibly come back to you with a figure. There is a lot of value. We see the value. We'd like to see more meaningful partnership with LAMP. There's a number of children that we're working with that we'd like to refer to them and ensure that they have a sustainable funding platform going into the future.
Good, thank you. Well, it's a program I'm very supportive of. I had, my youngest son had a mentor, and it made a big difference in his life after his father passed. So I appreciate all the good work that you do, and I certainly support it. And I hope this board will too. Does anybody have questions?
I appreciate Paul's comments, cause that's what I was gonna kinda suggest, that we
Amy,
work.
have you met Paul, and Paul, have you met Amy?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
just
Yeah.
gonna say that
Introduction.
we should, look at it through the budget committee, through the budget, somehow to come up with arrive at a number that works for everybody.
Certainly.
Anybody else? Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks, have a great day.
You have a fundraiser with a drawing coming up
We
in a
do.
week.
We have-
Is it a week from Wednesday?
I know where you can
Oh, it
get
is
some
tomorrow.
tickets too. I have some at the, no, I don't need more.
Have more.
Yeah, yeah. Well, very good.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Consent agenda. I think Andrew is gonna go through a little bit.
I'll scroll through the consent agenda on the screen.
Anybody has any questions?
Is this the time where we ask questions?
Yes.
May we ask questions?
Yes.
Okay. The one where it's, minimum salaries for elected officials, the resolution for that one. Let's see. When is the setting of salaries done and by whom?
Well,
It was-
we passed it, a resolution here, Julie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was done,
Correct. So what this action here is, it's in advance of the upcoming election for what we assume will be the three elected officials, the sheriff, the attorney, and the recorder. And so statute requires that we establish the minimum salaries for those positions, so that if someone's running for those positions, they know at a minimum what they should expect to make. The county board then can work with that individual to set a salary based on their experience and their skills and what both parties feel is appropriate salary. What we have done is what other counties have done, which is we identify the range in which those positions fall within our pay scale, and we set the minimum salary as the minimum step on that range. And this is something we're supposed to do every 4 years in advance of the,
okay, so it's done every 4 years.
correct.
And when do folks file? There was something about their
May.
filing
I
date.
believe May.
Is that in May?
Please.
Sometime in May?
I believe it's May, isn't it, Barb?
And the May.
Yep, well, May.
Middle?
Did fall in line with any of the
Any
other
other questions?
Just
elected.
point of reference, on that Personnel Board of Appeals appointment, that's normal for us to go outside of the county for this individual, right?
Correct.
We have to? Okay. And that was not the case with Donna, cause she would be, well, she's considered a CCT employee, wasn't she? So she wasn't, okay. That clears it.
A question on the corrections, is this filling a void, or is this kind of staying status quo, or is this,
We're still significantly down. in the job.
okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious because of, you know.
I don't think I didn't see any new positions at all. I don't believe.
I was just filling in two positions, it looks like, corrections, right?
Yeah, there's one full-time corrections officer that's being hired, then there's a promotion, so when that full-time corrections officer is moving into the corporal position, because we had a corporal who
Right.
left, then that person's basically being replaced. There's still, I believe, 4 open full-time positions.
Oh, so.
So there's
really
still several
changed
open positions. in the
Much,
jail.
gotcha.
Numbers have changed. Any other questions?
Madam Chair, move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, motion by Paul,
Madam Chair, I second that motion.
second by Commissioner Schiefelbein. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now we're gonna do I need a motion for this? I'm gonna recess the county board and convene the county ditch authority.
Jen?
Morning,
Hi, John.
John Condon, Meeker County Ditch Inspector. I bring to you this morning, I received a quote for clean out on County Ditch 17, and this is only one portion of the clean out. This is for the cookie cutter machine that we had recently discussed at some of those informational meetings. The other portion is some tree and log removal debris that will need to be done with an excavator, and that will hopefully be soon to come here to get quotes from on that. But the reason why we're going with the cookie cutter machine and a lot of this is because it's within a DNR protected waterway, and in discussions with the DNR, with using this machine, we don't have to remove the spoils off-site, which is a huge savings. I had looked on the DNR website, the Lakes Aquatic Weed Removal Corporation. They are a DNR approved contractor for doing this work, so that should help with any of that kind of stuff as well. I looked into other companies to see if they did have similar equipment, and they are the only one that I found that has this machine. So the quote I received from them, he had quoted just 2 of the areas he had highlighted on the map on the back, 2 and 3, which is the vast majority of it. That quote was for $75,458. Both those areas include the DNR protected waterways. The only other area we might consider is Area 1. we may add that to it, but there's two old beaver dams in there, which we'll probably need an excavator to remove anyways, so I may just have someone with an excavator remove those. It's out of the DNR protected wetlands, so it's not required to, we don't have to remove spoils off site there. So for now, we just included those two areas. And just comparison cost to like, an excavator with swamp mats. Average foot, cost per foot with swamp mats and the excavator is about $4.50 to $5 a foot. His quote came in at $3.71 a foot, so it's about $1 a foot less. So even without removing spoils, it still is definitely cheaper to go this route. So I am looking for a motion to approve the quote from Lakes Aquatic weed removal in the amount of $75,458.
What is a cookie cutter machine? I have never even, I understand what it does. I mean, it basically must,
It's basically like a little, it's a boat, almost looks more like a tugboat versus, you know, it's not super big, it's only 8 feet wide, but it's got two cutting discs on the front that are about 4 to 4.5 feet wide. And they got big teeth that stick out and they rotate at higher RPMs and basically just chews the vegetation out and sprays it to the side is what it does. So it really spreads it out. And that's why the DNR is okay with us using that type of machine. Cause I couldn't imagine what the cost of hauling those spoils out.
that'd be insane.
Yeah.
So John, when it spreads those shredded pieces out, is there any worry about it washing back into the,
There may be
causing a
some,
problem?
there may be a little bit. The one thing the DNR is requiring at, like one of the end culverts at the very end, so if some of that stuff does land back in, is that there's like some type of screen or mesh so that it catches that debris so that we can remove it out when we're done. Even if you're doing a clean out with an excavator, you know, there's some, you don't get 100% that you scoop up, especially when you're talking those mucky areas. It's pretty hard to get 100% of it out of there.
Sloughing is,
A little bit's gonna make it back in.
sloughing is a constant issue. Actually, it if this is what I think, if this is gonna do what I think it does, it shoots it out there a ways.
Yeah,
kinda like a snow blower?
Yeah,
Type.
it'll shoot her out.
yeah, it'll be from 5 feet to 25 feet out would be my assumption, maybe even further.
I'm thinking
That's really close to the road in that area too, isn't it?
Some of it is,
Not,
some
Well,
of
not
Will
exactly.
they let you know when they go down there to work?
Way
Yeah.
better for all that stuff.
I might wanna just go to watch it.
yeah, there's a few people that,
Yeah.
like
You're
to
not
see
gonna
it.
be right on the edge of the ditch, are you?
I'm gonna stay plenty far away.
Call in.
Direct it with a snowblower? I see.
Yeah, they can direct it.
Oh, okay.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the quote from Lake Aquatics, weed removal in the amount of $75,458 for the clean out of County Ditch 17.
Second that.
Motion by Commissioner Schiefelbein, second by Paul Johnson, Commissioner Johnson. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
I am serious about, let me know when.
Yeah,
Please.
and yeah, we will need to bring in a contractor to remove some of the trees and logs out of the way ahead of time.
This might be a conflict of interest, cause it's kinda entertainment on your part.
Yeah.
Can't all go and watch.
You can't drive it.
Take away all the fun, don't you?
Yeah, I suppose.
We'll adjourn the County Ditch Authority and reconvene the county board. Greg Schultz, Land Use Director.
Morning. Greg Schultz, Land Use Director. So I just got one item for you for your agenda, and that is to approve the water plan funding for water quality projects in Meeker County. This year we had 5 lake projects that applied for grant money. We had also 15 lakes that applied for water testing. So in our meeting last Tuesday, the water plan group approved a total budget of, let's see here, 31,000, let's see if I got it right here.
32,994.
32,994 for all the projects. And then our budget for the year, we had $33,760 approved for the budget for this year.
And you will see 4 water test kits there. It's something they're gonna try. Greg, you might want to explain that, because
Yeah,
it
for
could
the
save us
future.
money in the big
It could
picture.
for the future, yeah. Like I said, there's 15 lakes that have applied for just water testing, and this year we gave them $400 per lake for water testing. And what they're gonna do, and George had suggested that, we're gonna buy 4 hatch water testing, kits. So these lakes can maybe in the future test their own water rather than sending it out to labs. We're gonna compare the in-house testing with the lab testing for a while, see how it goes. So we're gonna buy 4 of those kits, and those kits are a cost of about $500 a piece for something with some change. So it may work out well. We gotta find people that wanna do it, people that are really vested in doing it. I think they'll be able to do that on the lakes. There's a lot of people really interested in water quality, so that's a direction that I think they may go in the future. This year, we just had 5 lakes that applied for $4,000 a piece. Last year, we had 9. So it fluctuates year by year, who applies, who doesn't apply. This is a fund that does not carry over from year to year with money we don't spend, so it's use it or lose it.
So, is it cheaper to do their own testing than to do lab testing,
It will be in the future, yes.
and they'll be able to compare and see if it's working as well?
Yep.
And we're kind of planning for 4 kits, but up to 3 lakes could use 1 kit.
Okay,
So, and I'll just use ours for example, Manuel Estella, Washington, all so close. If we have 1 kit between the 3, you know, we could, potentially down the road, you could eliminate most of that $6,000. It would just be reordering the supplies for the kits.
cool. And it isn't a big deal to do the testing, is it? Time
Go
consuming?
out in the middle of the lake and, yep.
They're pretty good instructions with the kits.
Good.
Couple drops of this, couple drops of that reagents and that to get your levels of phosphorus and other nutrients they're gonna be looking for, so. As you can see, Lake Minnabell has a project, Washington has a project, Big Swan has a project, Jenny has a project, and Clear Lake have applied for projects.
AIS was in the conversation on all this, or?
Well,
am I reading this?
AIS, go ahead, Greg, you
Yes.
can.
They're part, they looked over this, but these are different projects than what AIS would control. These are
Okay.
not aquatic invasive species, these are more erosion control, water quality projects than AIS projects.
So soil and water, I mean, I'm looking at the summary here, and
Soil
so
water,
MCAL, soil and water, AIS,
Yep.
everybody, NRCS.
they're all involved.
It says
Water con-
commissioners, so I'm assuming that was AIS, that's why I was kind
Well,
of,
sometimes AIS, it's almost like they are one, because you look at what they're doing and it's so closely,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
interlined, you know. We're protecting the water erosion along shorelines, but yet that's where, say you've got a culvert coming in, that's where a lot of the, AIS, weeds come in from, is that water from a different area. So,
Sediment.
yeah, they do look kind of the same, but yet they are separate. You know, you can kind of think of AIS as chemical control. Would that be fair, Greg?
Yeah, more
to some degree?
chemical, somewhat. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
more erosion control issues, a lot of these projects are
water.
erosion control. Joe Norman's very involved in these type of things with the filter strips, buffer strips, things like
Yep.
that.
Just curious, I think last year we did it for like 31,000 is what we kind of allocated, and it's 21. What happens to that 10,000?
It goes back into, it's actually split up between, feedlots, this program, and other, so that money is always used up,
Okay,
so. Actually, we spent last year 33,760, we allocated, but we only spent,
21.5, yep.
On average, you've approved, most years you've approved, in the past now, long before me, you've approved more than was submitted for, because the projects
Right,
didn't get
yeah,
done.
That's why we're trying to gear it for actual dollar for dollar, but obviously Big Swan, what didn't happen, I think that was on there last year.
And that was on there
With
this
the
year
weir.
for the same project.
Right,
So if it goes, we hope it goes one of these years.
20 years in the making, must have allocated probably 80,000 the last time.
We haven't used any.
Yeah, right.
Okay, for a motion,
Move to approve the water plan projects funding recommended by the water plan group.
I'll second that.
motion by Commissioner Johnson. Second by Commissioner Bredesen. Any more discussion? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Greg, I had a phone call quickly from a gal in Grove City. Did she get a hold of you? Mrs. Nelson, I think it was.
Yeah.
Something about, did she call you too?
oh yeah,
Okay, so,
Hanson,
is it Hanson?
Leona.
Well, there you go. Your neighbors are,
I'll visit with you.
okay.
Okay.
afterward.
I just told her I'd pass it on
Okay,
to leave a
alright.
message with you. Okay, Barb Block, approved notice of private sale of tax forfeited land.
Good morning, Barb Block, County Auditor. Before you, I have a request to do a private sale. You'll recall that I attempted this in December. Did have the landowner, one of them, because it's landlocked and there's only 2 potential landowners that would qualify for purchase. That particular landowner wasn't enticed with the large price that we put on that particular piece of property. There's remnants of a cement mix plant, an old tin building, some downed trees, and what probably years ago was a gravel pit when I talked to the landowners and those familiar with that property way back when. I did have the assessor reevaluate that particular piece of property. They look at property once every 5 years at sale and also upon request. And Amy did review, and the land is marginal, not a lot of use for it. And she revised her appraised value for 2022 to be $1,400. Ironically, the same amount as what we used when we tried to attempt this private sale. So before you today is, again, a bill of sale or a request to make another attempt to put this on the tax rolls. I did analyze, and if this stays with this value, the tax ramifications are under $100, so it's not like we're gaining a lot of dollars getting it back on the tax rolls, but it's the procedure. Paul Johnson and I both met with the landowner that potentially would have some interest at the last sale, and this is in his area. Paul did view the property and is familiar with the site, and he requested that I leave a blank for discussion on minimum bid.
Yeah.
So that's my request for you to.
Barbara and I again decided that we should decide what we want to give for it, rather than coming forward with a recommended amount. Let's talk about it and come, we'll fill in the blank, and then that would be a part of the motion then.
Is this an Acton?
It's in
I drive by it.
This is that one on Highway 12.
But yeah, I know, right where, is that Acton though?
Yeah.
Right there? Okay. I was thinking it was in mine. Good. It's in your-
Very close.
If we do somewhat of past precedents, which I know that we like to look at, we have often used a quarter to a third of the appraised value as an offering price. So with the $1,400 that Amy has adjusted that to, that can probably look at some of your thinking. Keep in mind that with unique properties, we need to sell it to the highest bidder. However, that can be less than the appraised value, and therefore at Paul's request, I left that blank for that discussion.
So will this come up like an auction or just
It's a private
contact?
sale, so private sale means that once you approve this here bill of sale or this private notice to sale, then we mail it directly to those who qualify only for putting a bid in, because it is landlocked. Those are some
Okay.
criterias.
How many?
Two.
Just 2 parties would be involved.
There's 2 sides to it.
This is one of those things that, just needs to be cleaned up and taken care of. I mean, it's, the value to us is, minimal, I mean, it's more just getting the property in somebody else's hands who can
Yep.
clean it up a little bit and take care of it. $250.
He must have been listening
He must-
to us. No, that's,
I mean,
when we
that's-
discussed it, we thought we'd kicked around 300, 350, 250, and we had kind of suggested, or our thought was 250 might be something that person would bite on.
it's not, I mean, it's not a gold mine. I mean,
How many acres are we
1
talking?
acre of property,
One.
1 acre.
it's right along Highway 12, just east of Atwater. Just inside the
Just.
county line. It's
Right by the county
It's right,
sign.
Right by the county.
It's in Acton, but it's
The north side of
close
the,
Barely.
to Union
Barely.
Grove, or Sweet Grove, yeah.
Yeah.
just east of the
Right,
turkey.
exactly,
barns there?
right
Yes,
there.
There you
gravel
go.
pit, I know
There's a
exactly.
shed that's
Yep.
fell down, trees all,
Yep.
that tornado went through there a couple of years ago, and
Twisted
everything
everything.
is a mess there.
So with this here price, the individual will have approximately $100 in forfeit fees that go with it, recording fee, getting the deed tax, and the assurance fee. So keep in mind that the potential end price for that individual could be $350 if you just set $250. I just want you to, know
Yeah.
exactly what the dollars are for.
Sure.
But you can sell it less than,
The board can do less than appraised value, and one of the things that we have in past precedent is once we've offered it at one particular amount, the second time we come back, you have another justification for a different price.
but can you sell it for less than $250?
Sure. The board is
Without
option to sell.
board action is what I'm
No,
getting.
I can't sell it without board action.
Okay, so if we set it at 250, and
You can't take less.
It's a
I
minimum.
can't take less.
But-
until we come,
Could come back to the board after that one's closed and say it did not sell, we could then
Okay.
lower the price.
I think this party had less in mind, correct?
I'm not sure what this party had in mind, so I'm not going to comment.
We won't go there then.
well, let's
We're
find
not
out.
gonna read
I'll make-
minds.
Not an option.
Yeah,
I'd make a motion to assign $250 on it, so we can do some price discovery and find out what it's worth.
do you want that incorporated in the actual motion? or-
Yeah, I'll make a motion to request to conduct a private sale with adjacent owners on parcel 01-00760000. Accept bids until 1 PM on February 7th, 2022 at the office of the county auditor for no less than $250 minimum.
And I will second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Schmidt, second by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Just a quick update, the 2 parcels in Dassel did not sell, but I'm not back to ask for an adjustment because I believe that we let that slide for a little while. Supposedly those are buildable lots. I know there's wetland on there, but I'm just gonna let it go for probably half a year or so and see if there's some call on that one before I come back and ask for an adjustment.
This 1 acre that we just talked about, is it classified as agriculture? Is it
She's gonna
classified?
classify it as vacant land, non-production vacant land, I believe.
Okay.
This is the title that I received on it.
Thank you, Barb. All right, next we're gonna open the public hearing for discussion on the county auditor as an appointed position.
We do need a motion to open the public
We
hearing.
need a motion to open the public hearing.
I
So
move to
move.
open the, go ahead.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Whitman, second by Paul Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is open.
Madam Chair, I can give a brief presentation
Sure.
on both of these items real
Great.
fast, and then we can go from there. So, Minnesota statute 375A dot 1205 provides county boards with the authority to appoint certain officers under certain conditions. Those conditions include vacancy in the office. Current office holder is notified the county board that the officer will not file for office, or there's a signed contract with the county board and the incumbent officer which states that he or she will be appointed to the position and retain tenure, pay, benefits equal or greater to the length of service. At that point, the county board then has the option to transition the position from an elected position to an appointed position, and that's what we are here discussing today. So for both the county auditor and the county treasurer positions, we have negotiated and executed contracts, employment agreements with both officers, which are here for your consideration. This has been a goal of this and previous county boards, and the purpose for it is to ensure that future individuals who serve in those roles have the necessary credentials and experience in order to be successful. These positions have become much more complicated over the years, and therefore there's been a trend across Minnesota to appoint these positions. The duties of the auditor and the treasurer are both outlined in detail within the written materials included in your packet, so I'm not going to go through those. But as you'll note as reviewing them, they are quite complex. So the proposed employment agreements that are before you today were negotiated by myself with the county auditor and the county treasurer individually, and in consultation with the personnel committee. So with that, I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Is the recorder the only other one that fits this kind of
Correct.
model then, at this
Correct.
point?
Yep.
And the reason why that didn't go through is she just did not want.
Correct,
that
yes, we had some good discussions about it, and she made the decision to not move forward at this time.
Okay.
So that means what? When that elected position comes up for reelection, it will run on the ballot?
Correct, as it has.
Questions?
Does she need to ask for public comment, even though there's no public here?
What do you want me to do, Commissioner Johnson?
No, I was just clarifying something.
So,
So we would need to see if there's any public comments.
is there any public comments? I thought I already asked that twice. Any public comments?
So a decision like this, to take a position which for years has been on a ballot and elected by the voters, the board has the power to take that away from the voters and turn into, people have trouble with the word appointed. It's actually not in the way I would define appointed. It's like opening up a regular job for applications, interviews, etc.
That's exactly correct.
It would fall in the same category as VSO.
Yep.
Correct. I mean, the same handling or procedure, you know,
Okay.
of those positions.
Except the appointed, or the elected officials had to be in agreement,
Correct.
so it isn't like
Yeah.
we just decided that they were gonna be.
Yep.
All right, anybody else for any public hearing comments? If not, I close the
We need a motion to close.
I need a
I
motion.
move to close the public hearing, Madam Chair.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Second by Commissioner Schmidt. Any more discussion? Public
Is
hear-
everybody pretty good in terms of all this? Or everybody in-house felt like everything was good with all this too?
I mean, I can let Barbara Sharon talk about it, but I think we had some very positive conversations about it.
And I think for me, we've talked about this for a while and for a few years, actually, so it wasn't something that was agreed upon immediately. We tried it once before and we weren't ready, so I think this is a positive step ahead for the county and for the appointees.
I agree that these positions are requiring skills and talents that not everyone possesses, and to go through an actual application and review of applicants, I think is a plus for the county. Now, these two positions who have agreed to this will maintain their position until they decide on, say, retirement, correct?
Correct. There are certain extenuating circumstances
Yeah.
but yes. We do not anticipate having.
No.
It hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet, so I don't anticipate.
And,
Very
you know, I think these positions, like you said, have become
Oh, my.
a lot different than they were a few years ago, and so it's worrisome to think somebody could come in and by popularity just win an election and then not be able to do the job, so.
Madam Chair, I believe there's a motion and a second on the floor.
Any other discussion?
One more thing, if the recorder decides not to go for your election, do we have the chance then to, at that point to say, okay, then we're gonna find a recorder and appoint them?
In the future, our current recorder has indicated to me that she's gonna file for election.
I meant when, at that
At
point.
that point, yes.
Gotcha.
Any other discussion? All in favor of closing the public comment period?
Aye.
Aye.
There. This is only my second meeting.
And so now there are two items in front of you for the county auditor. The first is the employment agreement, and the second is a resolution which appoints the position. So we would need to take action on the employment agreement first, and then take separate action on the resolution.
So first, we need a motion, let me look here. First, we need a motion to approve an employment agreement between the Meeker County Board of Commissioners and the county auditor.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the employment agreement between the Meeker County Board of Commissioners and the county auditor.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Schiefelbein, second by Commissioner Bredesen. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we need to move to approve a resolution establishing the appointment of the county auditor.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve a resolution establishing the appointment of the county auditor.
Madam Chair, I will second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Schmidt, second by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion? We'll have the call roll.
Commissioner Bredesen,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Schiefelbein,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Chairwoman Oberg.
Yes. Welcome.
Back, yeah.
Welcome back.
So although we basically did this previously, we do need to have a separate public hearing regarding the county treasurer appointment as well.
Okay.
So I'm looking for a motion to open public hearing, for appointing the, county.
Madam Chair, point of order.
Yes.
That particular public hearing was listed to be at 9:30 a.m. We are at 9:22.
Okay,
Can we open it at this point in time?
well, we can have a break or do
I
something.
just,
We could move on to the next item and then come back.
Okay.
am I wrong on that, or,
Yeah.
you know, if
I didn't
we
notice that.
advertised it, I don't know that we should.
Good point. So the next item on our agenda then,
Rural Minnesota County discussion?
Yes.
Lining up at the door.
Yeah, but, you know, I mean,
I have a couple of questions. We've been voting on different things here that have been resolutions, and I'm wondering, were we supposed to have been taking roll call?
you know what, that's
Each of
a
those?
good point. I apologize.
I
We
think
should have
we
done a roll
would.
call for the consent agenda. I was trying to troubleshoot a live stream issue.
I
at the time.
did notice that in
Yep.
there, I
So,
wasn't sure.
Yep.
Let's do this. Let's go back. Let's reconsider the consent agenda and do the roll call.
Oh,
I think
okay.
we-
so,
There was
So it
one in there
was-
for sure, right?
Yeah, there was.
So Commissioner Johnson was the,
The minimum salary.
and Commissioner Schiefelbein was the secondary.
so if I go back and amend that
Oh, that was
given
a
motion
resolution.
to say,
It says on there,
Just reconsider, it would
I
be a
move
move to
Say
reconsider.
resolution,
yes,
and we
okay.
usually have to do a roll
Madam
call.
Chair,
minimum salary.
Yeah.
move to reconsider a previous motion.
Okay. Go ahead. What'd you say?
Second.
Motion to reconsider a previous motion
yes.
by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Bredesen. So what are we
The
reconsidering?
elected official one.
No,
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 No.
our
The
consent
one we
agenda.
consent
The
agenda,
consent agenda.
because the consent had two.
The entire
uh,
consent agenda.
Oh, we're gonna do the whole.
Okay,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
sorry.
Oh, here I am.
So,
Giving you a mulligan.
so would the appropriate, in this case, motion be to say, I move to approve the consent agenda
So
by
that's just because it's in
resolution?
there.
Just what
No,
would
just we're
require.
gonna-
Just
Two
move to-
Yeah, I see,
resolutions,
I see.
yeah. I was
It has resolutions in it, so we just need to do the roll call.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Move to
so-
approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion to approve, second by Julie. Any more discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Bredesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Schiefelbein,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Oberg.
Yes. Okay, we still got 7
Posted
minutes.
at 9:30 too.
Okay, now let's move to the, Commissioner Schmidt, you had requested a discussion regarding county's membership in rural.
Yeah, thanks for the warning, Andrew. I didn't know we were doing this right now. I went to MRC on, it was a week ago today, I believe, last Monday. Yes, or a week ago yesterday, right? And I took some pretty good notes and looked at things. I think what I am gonna suggest to us is that we continue our membership for this year, for 2022. They operate on a pretty skinny budget. I've got a sheet here, I can make copies for you as well. Lincoln County did join as well, so they have about 36 counties right now. They definitely feel that they have a voice outside of AMC, that represents outstate Minnesota. My concern, and I wanna try and address that as throughout the year, is that I don't know that they have some of the leadership in place to be able to address that. And I guess I wanna be able to reevaluate that throughout the year and see if that's a structural problem or if it's just a temporary problem that needs some addressing. Their entire budget is $83,400, of which the administrative services is $67,000 of that. And then administrative support is also another $3,500. So there's very little room for any dollars to work on anything towards lobbying or, positioning a whole lot. So it's a pretty skimpy budget. They are not gonna raise their dues, and I believe they're around $2,400, $2,500 right in there per year. Does that sound right, Sharon?
I don't know off the top of my head.
No, it's in that ballpark. So a fairly minimal expense. I mean, meeting expenses, things like that are minimal. So they run a pretty shoestring budget. But that's kind of what my overall, I went into that meeting kind of with an open mind, just that, okay, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater type of thing and see what we can, just be objective. And that's kind of what I came away with. I think I might be a little premature to leave this year. Based on what I've seen, I'd like to give it one more year and see if some of the problems are chronic, and unproductive, or if it's just some growing pains that are going through too. So that's my overall take on it.
I have attended one meeting, and that was at the AMC annual conference. I fully understand some of the things that Commissioner Schmidt is referring to in a little bit of organizational structure issues there and so forth. I also like the fact that he's saying, let's stay in this thing, let's not pick up our basketball and go home. Let's stay and try and fix, maybe make something that's really good for our county and other counties by staying in it. So I certainly support what Commissioner Schmidt says.
Another point I'd make out, of the $83,000 budget, 83.4, last year they only spent 75. So when you take the administrative the cost of the executive director and AMC support, there isn't much left there. I mean, the dollars are minimum that are spent, so.
How is their leadership determined? Is it an elected
It's an
position?
elected-
For how long of a term? Will this be changing?
It'll be up. If you're looking around, you're the alternate on there.
Moving forward,
You are.
no more questions.
That's a,
No further questions.
that's a line right out of my book.
But no, it's elected, Luke Johnson is the chair from Pipestone, and Douglas County is the vice chair. The name is, right now, I believe it's Douglas.
Solberg.
So do they actually do some lobbying for rural counties or not? That's the, we talked about doing something different that way, getting somebody more for rural counties.
How is the money?
The trouble is, I guess my challenge, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, 'cause I think my challenge or my struggle with them as far as leaving them is there isn't anything at AMC that replaces it, and I think we're a little ways from that happening too.
They're talking about doing that.
They have talked about it. If there was more direction there, or could see some things developing there, so it does have a voice, but it's kind of standalone and it ain't a very loud voice right now. It's kind of probably how I would assess it. And I shouldn't probably, I might be a little hard on leadership, but it doesn't feel very strong.
Okay.
And that's not to pick on anyone.
But there's some potential.
There's some good people in the crowd. There's some very good people in the crowd. And so,
So we'll see what happens next year
but
then.
if that happens to shift over into AMC, and AMC would start up a Ag and Rural Affairs Committee, I think it'd be stronger. Yeah, I mean, but that's not happening as of today, so.
Okay.
But with your voice at the table, there's always that chance that we could see the beginning
There's
steps of that.
the concern on, MRC is that a lot of the ag groups, and I'm involved in quite a few of them, and know a lot of pretty strong leadership in the state of Minnesota, whether it be soybean, Farm Bureau, or corn. Them are big players in the game at the lobby table, and they're not, and MRC doesn't know them. And they don't know MRC. But they do know AMC. So, I mean, there's some steps to bridge, there's some gaps to bridge here. And how that, if MRC steps into that game a little bit more, or AMC does, or who does. And I'm in the room at least when the conversations are going. But I'm in favor of going one more year and take it from there. We're not bound by contract, I don't think, with them. It's a year to year dues.
When do the dues become due?
Next Tuesday.
Yeah, right about now.
Yeah, it's a calendar year.
Calendar year.
So, and that's what I had to ask Andrew, and when I looked at the board meeting minutes from 18 when we joined, it was prorated, so I knew they were coming up in January, so
Okay.
I requested to wait till the second meeting here so we could.
Do
Yeah,
have
we just
to-
got the bill, so we're holding on to the bill right now until we had this discussion, so.
Do we have,
Do you know what the bill is?
It's either 24 or 2,500.
Okay,
I didn't actually see it,
Yeah.
so.
I wanted to make sure I was accurate there, but.
will that come on an agenda item, or do we need to move on that now?
No, it's budgeted.
No,
It's in the
It's a
budget.
it would
budgeted
come as a
item, so we
warrant.
don't need to.
Okay, anything else on that?
I don't have anything further. If
Then I'll
there's
look,
questions.
9:30, so we can,
okay, I'm looking for a motion to open the public hearing on for the county treasurer's appointed position.
Move to open the public meeting, or the public hearing for the county treasurer as an appointed position.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, second
Second.
Commissioner Schiefelbein. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Now, is this a resolution?
No.
Or not?
no, this is just opening the public
All
hearing.
in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the public hearing concerning county treasurer's being appointed position is open. Anybody have anything to say?
I gave my presentation during the last one. so
Same as before?
I can say it again.
No, it's okay.
We all understand. Anybody? If not, I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second,
Motion by Commissioner Shifelbein, second by Commissioner Bredesen. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. So now we're looking for a motion to approve the treasurer employment agreement.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve an employment agreement between Meeker County Board of Commissioners and the county.
Okay. You hear a second?
I will second.
Motion by Commissioner Schmidt, second by Commissioner Johnson to approve an employment agreement between the Meeker County Board of Commissioners and the county treasurer. Any further discussion?
I do have a question.
Okay,
Now, are we doing this incorrectly too?
no, we'll do
Is this a
the
resolution?
next
No,
motion.
this is
will-
not a
That's
resolution.
next.
Next one.
This
This
is,
one is a motion.
because when we did the one for the auditor, did we do that
Mhm.
correct?
Yep.
Yes, we did.
Same way.
Correct. Okay,
Julie,
so we-
stop picking on me.
I know, I'm not picking, I just, and what happened is
No,
my packet
I
didn't
know,
come
I
in the
know.
mail.
It's understandable, you were chair before, now it's just, I get it, I get it.
Okay, so do we have a motion on the floor to approve an employment
we do.
agreement between the Meeker County? Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now we're looking for a resolution to
Now
approve
we get-
establishing the appointment of the county treasurer.
Madam Chair, I move to approve a resolution establishing the appointment of the county treasurer.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Shifelbein, second by Commissioner Schmidt. Any more discussion, questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Shifelbein.
Yes.
Commissioner Bredesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Oberg.
Yes. Good. How did we do, Julie?
Parliamentary.
Sharon, thank you. And I just wanna compliment Sharon and Barb and Andrew for a job well done, because we've been trying to get to this point for a while, so kudos to all of you. I think it's gonna work
Thanks.
out well, thank you. Okay, monthly fund balances.
Just informational in the packet. So, for my report, actually, I wanted to turn it over to, our Social Services Director, Paul Bukovich, to give an update on an item that has been of concern.
Good morning, Paul Bukovich, Meeker County Social Services. Last Friday, I received notification from our trade group, MAXA, that they were informed by the Department of Human Services that the RFP process, which was released this morning, so it is now public information, is going to contain a request that counties that are being served as a sole source county by county-based purchasing is no longer going to be valid. They're going to be seeking to have at a minimum of 2 health plans per county. So what we have is some issues as to the timing of the communication of this news to us. When there's no sole source counties, this had not been previously communicated to any of our trade groups or to any of the health plans or to the human services agencies that serve our various counties. Even though there were multiple opportunities to do so, while we were negotiating what the RFP would look like, what we've done as far as our SNBC and our MSHO products. So there was opportunity to communicate this. It had not been done so. Sole source for us has significant fiscal benefits as well as client care benefits. Having our county-based purchasing program provides us the intimacy to do partnerships that we would not otherwise be able to do with other counties. I know a couple of our board commissioners here sit on Prime West boards. I'm sure you will be aware of more information as this comes out through your sources as well. I'd like to continue to have those conversations and let you know what that really means for our local community. The reason DHS is given as far as why they are choosing to not have sole source counties or county-based purchasing is that they believe that federal law requires them to have client choice and a minimum of 2 plans for client choice. However, in previous litigation, I believe in 2015, 2016, our legislature did put into statute that DHS would be seeking waivers to any federal requirements that would have an impact on sole source county programs. To date, we have not seen any activity from DHS pursuing those waivers. Doesn't mean it didn't occur, but we just don't have any evidence, and I'm not aware of any on this at this time. So we need to continue to keep our eye on this RFP. We are not interested in stopping the RFP. However, we definitely want to have some more significant voice in our trade groups with DHS as to how this all came about. We're disheartened that DHS has not sought to partner with the counties through this process. Kind of indicative of some of the challenges that we have had with DHS in the past. Do you have any questions for me at this point? Our MAXA and AMC have sent out a letter this AM to DHS and their leadership stating our concerns. I've shared that with Andrew and County Attorney Schiffelbein. Trying to say it correctly.
I don't understand.
Sorry, I said it wrong.
Why are you not interested in stopping it?
Right.
We've been
I mean,
waiting
is
for
there-
2 years for this, and I'm gonna let the legal.
So they're, I
Right.
probably know the answer, but.
I think the cows are out of the barn, really, because they released the RFP. I think it would be very difficult for us to retract the RFP, although we did request that we retract any language that ensures that there is not sole sourcing.
Well, that's what I guess that's where I was going. Is it one of them things where if you retract the RFP, a lot of good things go away with it? Type of, they got it.
It's just the legalities and the logistics.
Okay. That was just.
Yeah, it'd be very
something.
difficult for nor do I think that would be a fight that we're going to need to put our energy in. I think our energy would be better served by, if this board believes in Prime West, then our energy would be better served in trying to ensure that we maintain sole sourcing. On the flip side, sole sourcing is not going to be the end of the world for human services and for our county social services, but there are some significant fiscal impacts that we will have. We would have to be looking at negotiating our rates with the health plans if we have the ability to do so, to cover our full cost. When we're in partnership as an ownership entity like we are with Prime West, it's easier to share some of those costs. When we look at some of our community initiatives that we have going on, transportation, a number of other projects that the county has county dollars going toward, it's easier for us to share that burden when it's with a Prime West or a county-based purchasing plan than it is with an other entity. We would be trying to seek financial reimbursements and recoveries via many different mechanisms to those projects to ensure that the county is not subsidizing other health plans.
So, Paul, just as an example, nothing else, we use Prime West, they could be one of our sources, but now you have to go find a second source to get a bid from?
Through the RFP process, what they would do is they would help us make that determination. We do have a component of the review of the RFP, and we have to be very clear that we are doing so with good intention and fairness to all because of our nature of purchasing practices. So we will be reviewing RFPs here in the near future. However, we only have about 50%, really 49% of voice in that process. DHS has the larger voice because of the financial underpinnings of prepaid medical assistance plans.
So does this have the potential to cost your office more money in processing claims and so forth? Because
Yes, it also has, as a real simplistic example, currently, when we're serving Prime West clients or county-based purchasing clients, we have one service plan, and we've worked with Prime West to develop that service plan. We use that for all of our areas of business, regardless of whether it's Prime West or whether it is straight MA or whether it is a client that doesn't have any other funding mechanism. Having another health plan, we would need to have a health service plan that meets their requirements. So thus our social workers potentially could be doing two different service plans. Now we're actually going to have to set up our system to code to different health plans as well. So we're going to have to do third-party billing more so than just with Prime West. So there's all these little tentacles that are in our operations that sole sourcing is beneficial. I don't want to say we can't overcome those. I don't know what the cost to us would be for those administrative burdens. I'm not going to say it's going to cost us extra time. I'm not going to even give you any potentials, but the risk and the challenges are there.
When did this come out? I'm surprised. I haven't heard a thing from
Who's
Prime West,
mandating
so.
this?
The
HS.
Department of Human Services.
When did you find out about this?
I found out about this last Friday. The RFP came out this morning. So it's now
Interesting.
public information.
So we'll be hearing from Prime West, I'm sure. We haven't
I'm
heard a
sure
word.
your email box will be blowing up after they have a provider meeting this
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
Well, Jim had indicated some real nervousness about this particular
Yeah.
period this year because of the number that were against county-based purchase.
Well, this has been a concern of mine for a while. You know, it puts us in a challenging position for our operations. Our partnership, I believe, is strong with Prime West, but it also puts Prime West in a position of competing in an unfair pool as well. We have some concerns just anecdotally about this and our membership in Prime West. Nothing specific by any means, but just general concerns about this whole process. I must say that we do enjoy a strong relationship with Prime West, but I will leave that to the board to decide how we navigate forward with this. I would like to continue to have conversations with the commissioners that are sitting on Prime West board as to how we navigate, and hopefully the full board going into the future what this is going to.
Would you say that this is more detrimental to the rural counties than it is to the metro?
Considering most rural counties are part of county-based purchasing plan, yes, we have 20 counties that are a county-based purchasing plan. We are looking at 11 more rural counties joining county-based purchasing plan. The whole reason for rural counties to get into a county-based purchasing plan, when you think about it, was a very challenging time when PMAP originally started. And what we'd seen is that PMAPs, as a part of their cost profile, had transported individuals to care instead of ensuring care was maintained locally, or just pulled out. And that left counties without. And so those risk dynamics are still there for rural counties. Also, when you look at rural counties and the subsidization of what we do for our business operations, as an example, CCT, we do share costs with CCT. We enjoy a strong relationship with them. The counties have built CCT. Prime West has been a partner in CCT's health, where we may see another health plan come in and not share that same value and that same fiscal incentive to support a network such as that. Now, that's just an example, and I don't mean to pick on CCT, but it was one that's just clearly in my head and easy to communicate because it has such a broad impact on our community, getting people to health care.
Well, Prime West money stays within the counties that purchase the county-based, or are part of the county-based purchasing. Whereas if we end up with a bigger one, the monies are not really the counties anymore.
Yes, there are grants that come through other health plans, but they're not as intimate of a relationship as we hold with Prime West. So if we have a client issue, we can contact somebody in Prime West and say, hey, this is Meeker County Social Services, this is our person, we're having some issues, can we kind of work together to figure this out? That level of intimacy is, I believe, beneficial to the overall general care and health of our community. when you start talking about bigger systems, that intimacy is lost. Doesn't mean that they're not going to work with us in a you know, fair and general platform to serve customers. But you may not get that same person like you do with a smaller entity. And if that's something that the county board values for the community, then that's something that we should continue to support.
What's the timeline? When have they said that you have to?
Well,
They're telling you, right?
The RFP has come out this morning.
Right.
So I believe there's going to be a 60-day turnaround on that. Then we will be reviewing all of the responses, which we have a portion of that review. Then DHS makes this determination, and so we're looking at 2023. It's not going to happen this year, but it's kind of, that's when it's going to happen for the changeover to the PMAS.
So all these counties, these basically rural counties will have a chance to collaborate and say, hey, what are you doing to us right now?
That's what our intent is right now. We're working with our trade groups as the coordinating body for all of the CBP counties. Each CBP, I'm assuming, will be using their own legal counsel to navigate what they see as in their best interest to move forward. We have some expansion counties that are concerned about this. They want to be a part of that. We believe that they will be a part of county-based purchasing. But again, like us, they will not be sole sourcing. For existing counties and county-based purchasing, I think we're going to be seeing the more significant impact in the change of our operations than our expansion counties, because they're already serving other entities.
What was DHS's object when they let you know on Friday? Why? What's the reasoning
I don't
behind
think
this?
they really wanted to let us know on Friday, but it came out in a meeting in another topic related to healthcare.
Oh.
And our trade group was present, and there was a number of representatives from our trade group that pushed the issue and asked for more clarifying information. Our trade group then informed us on Friday. We were limited in what we were going to be able to say. I didn't know I was going to even be able to do this presentation because of rules and requirements, non-disclosure. However, the RFP came out this morning and I received notification, so that allows us to have this conversation. The timing of their notification, given that there were many other opportunities that probably would have been better venues to have this conversation and have a meaningful conversation with counties about their decision and their review of federal statute, I think would have been better served. We are concerned about the process of how we received this communication and the process of how the decision was made without significant county involvement.
Is this a new federal statute, or is this something, an interpretation
This
of?
federal statute's been around for 20-plus years. When there were a number of lawsuits regarding county-based purchasing back in 2015, the statute hasn't changed since then. So
It's just a new, whatever, a new interpretation because of.
Well, what's been the 11 counties that wanna join? That's been going on for a couple of years. Who's been holding that up?
well, this whole process has
DHS.
been holding that up.
DHS.
Yeah,
That's
this-
what, I just wanna make sure.
Yeah, that's why we
Right.
want to continue to move the process forward, because we've been sitting in limbo for 2 years since the last process. The last time that we did this, we did not complete our response because the information that we received from DHS was so sparse, there was no decision that we could make. We did come forward as a board at that time through their support to Prime West through resolution. And there were so many significant challenges to the process that DHS backed away from it and kept everything as it was as they developed this process for this particular RFP. What's disheartening is that lesson of what occurred then really wasn't carried forward in this decision. The process of developing the RFP had a lot of partnership, but this decision kind of stood out from everything that we've had as far as conversation with DHS.
Paul and Beth, correct me if I'm wrong, I've only been on Prime West board for a year, but it sounds as though every legislative session, county-based purchasing has, for lack of a better term, been under attack. Is that correct?
I think.
Yeah.
They wanna
It's
split
been
it up
talked
different
about.
ways and.
Having come from county-based purchasing counties, in my previous employment, when we were going into county-based purchasing, that we weren't, and that was just kind of developing. It's been under attack since the inception of county-based purchasing. I have a lot of personal opinion on county-based purchasing. I will share that, as a director of human services, I appreciate county-based purchasing. I think it has significant value for our constituents. I'm disheartened that it has been under attack because it is a model. I believe that, not to get into politics, but crosses all political divides.
And it works.
That's why,
That's why it's under attack.
that's why it's under attack, I think.
It's too efficient, so you're
I think
threatening
that
somebody's
they wanna
job.
divide it up and they wanna, it's a whole, it's
Will
something
this
every
be,
time.
will this be going through the courts in terms of other people saying, hey, you've done this 20 years already with this statute? Will there be any legalities in terms of this with other counties saying, hey, I don't accept this, or?
My
how does that work?
assumption is that it will, but whether it would be counties that would be moving forward with that legal challenge, I do not know at this point, because I don't know exactly how or what point we would be able to argue. However, I would say that county board authority is written into statute, and I would be supportive of our county board's authority. I believe as we look at this process, if there is any decisions that are made that usurps county board authority, that might be something that we would have to have some further discussion with the county attorney.
So this is an issue that, as Paul mentioned, MAXA, the Social Services Director Association, has been monitoring very closely, and they sent out a letter that I'll be happy to forward to the commissioners later this morning. And so, as of today, kind of where we're at is we wanted to notify you that this is an issue, that this is going to require our attention, and then we'll continue to identify solutions and then come back to you with options when they become available. So we're not looking to take any action today. It's just making you aware.
Didn't want you to get blindsided as
I'm sure we'll be
you were.
hearing from
forward, right?
Prime West will be something
We'll be
else
hearing,
soon.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
DHS just continually throws curveballs, and I don't understand
Well, it's difficult.
who they're serving,
Yeah, it's
for lack of a better terminology.
It's difficult because you look at population centers and you have to serve those population centers, and then you look at rural Minnesota and you look at all the counties in rural Minnesota. And our uniqueness logistically and the challenges that we face because of those logistical differences, and we don't have that same population mass. I mean, that's kind of how it plays out. So we would wish that there would be more partnership in these types of decisions, but I can also empathize that there's 87 different ways to look at this.
Well, it goes back to rural Minnesota and up again, in the end, versus big cities. It is, and I don't know why Prime West does a good job with their county-based, I don't know why they care, but somebody else wants to get in on this action, and that's just the way it is. And I don't think it'll work as well, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you so much for your time this morning. We'll keep you informed as new developments occur. Thank you, Andy, for giving me some time.
Thank you. The only other thing I wanted to mention as part of my report is that next Monday, our new Veteran Service Officer, Timothy Steiner, will be starting with the county. And we released a press release last week, and I saw that yesterday we actually got a little bit of coverage on it. So it's a rarity for us. we got some.
Would it be possible, we have a work session on Tuesday, that maybe he can have a brief introduction to
Sure.
the commissioners, the work session?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. That concludes my report.
Okay, board committee reports. Paul, start.
You know, been a funny week, with everybody having, health issues and so forth. I only had one meeting. It was, virtual, and that was packed, and, Packed for Family was, first meeting of the year, so it was more just a organizational meeting, and then we went to, some training, about an hour and a half of training. And learned that there's a new way of having a whiteboard when you're on virtual. They put you in there, you're able to scribe things and put them on Post-it notes on this whiteboard, and then they share all the whiteboards with everybody else, so, kind of a double training there. The only other thing, I wanna say is, you know, we've all had a little trouble reading the accounts payable because it's twisted. Did Mary send out the fix to that? She did to me.
There was one, I don't know how to fix it.
All you have to do, I was always just hitting the icon to rotate it, go to view, and then it says rotate view, and it works fine. So just a heads up to all of you that she had sent me that, I tried it.
It was only one page,
I think it was just
and
Yeah.
there was only
Yeah.
like 2 line items on it.
But I just thought
I
I'd
can
share
look
that.
sideways, so
Yeah.
I didn't.
Step by doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're dozing off.
Yeah.
And,
I read that page last.
we have a personnel meeting today, and, I have nothing else the balance of the week, and CCT next week in our work session, and so I got a really thin January.
Okay, Julie.
Okay. Okay, looking at my calendar, we met on the 4th, regular meeting. We were supposed to have an AIS meeting on Wednesday, the 5th, and that was postponed. Then on Friday, the 7th, we had an county extension meeting. I'm on a hiring committee for a new horticulture position. We decided at the Friday meeting on the 7th that we were going to reopen for some additional applications. So that position is on hold now for about another month. Then on Thursday, the 13th, I had the Community Health Board. That's the 3-county, Meeker, McLeod, Sibley. They have elected to continue to Zoom those meetings. Some approvals were done for increased hours. The director wanted 4 additional hours. They're looking to hire a 20-hour-a-week administrative assistant, 7-hour-a-week addition for a McLeod County position. Those 3 were approved. These additions will be paid for over 2 years by something called a workforce development grant. So that'll take them through 2023. And then hopefully those 3 approvals will be reevaluated at that time. We looked at 2 various formats for reporting. One shows the 3 counties in separate columns, which I like because then I can compare them. Meeker, McLeod, Sibley, which county gets how much for various grants. That was my preference. They had another one which is more simplistic. I believe we'll probably be receiving both of those formats with our packets. Presentations were made by the Community Health Improvement Plan and the Strategic Plan. Those folks gave nice presentations. Schools and clinics are waiting to see how the mandate now from the Supreme Court will affect how they do things with COVID. And we are still, Meeker County, we are the lowest percent of vaccinated folks. So that continues to be a disappointment. Today now we have our regular meeting. This afternoon, or after this meeting, we have a personnel meeting. Tomorrow I have an 8 o'clock public health meeting. That will be Zoom. Thursday I have a Pioneer Land. They've elected to now meet in person. And then Friday the 21st, we have another extension meeting, but that's just the hiring committee. There we go.
All right, I had 2 on last Thursday, EDA with Steve. Basically, not much activity because number one, they're holding off because of the obviously winter and stuff in terms of building. Then we talked briefly about the child care, and we're waiting on basically the grants or from other businesses to see if they're gonna put money in, and then we all match it. That's kinda how I interpret it. I didn't really get a lot of clarity on that one.
Yeah, there was a little discussion, it sounded like, because EDA decided to put in $10,000 towards childcare and to try and start a kitty to start promoting childcare centers, whether they be large or at home, and trying to enhance some businesses to perhaps join in and create an incentive. And it sounded like there were some comments to the effect that that's nothing. But at the same time, when you gotta pick a number and you gotta start somewhere and have discussion from there. So
I
there
think
was
that-
discussion around that, but,
I think that's been, I mean, Andrew can chime in, but the task force has struggled trying to find out what is really needed, I think. The survey has helped now.
Yes.
I don't know.
I
and
don't know where,
I haven't been in enough of those.
right. I don't think we know where we know what the need is, but no matter what we present, I feel like it isn't, I don't know how to say it.
It seems like the biggest barriers are, really it comes down to the wages that we can pay, or that they can pay daycare workers, and the amount of money that someone who owns a in-home daycare can make, because it's tight across the
Yeah.
board. It's very thin margins, and the parents who are taking their kids there, it's difficult for them to afford to pay more. And so that's what we keep kind of hearing. And so we're trying to find ways to reduce that barrier to entry. So you need an egress window, or you need a fence or something like that. You don't need to spend $10,000 on that. You can get a matching grant for it, that sort of stuff. But you still then need someone who's willing to take the next step, which is then operate that business.
That's where I think, it's because
It's a
of-
lot more complex
It's more
than just saying
complex.
And I
dollar amount. I can
think
correct
the
that.
the other point, at least, yeah, a lot of your childcare workers do it because they love it, not because they love the pay.
Yeah.
And that's,
And they can't,
so you're limited, your base
they
is
have
limited.
childcare centers that could take more kids, but they don't have enough staff
Yeah.
because nobody wants to come and work for what they can afford to pay. So it's a whole bunch of stuff right now.
Yeah. That's where we're at on it, because we're basically it's not EDA, but the other one, or
Oh, it's a-
MCEDA, whatever you call it. I don't know.
Develop-
TDC.
Yeah,
ABC,
Well,
XYZ.
Development.
yeah, exactly, is in charge of that portion, but we're waiting on to see what the businesses do, and then we'll start putting money in a thing on that part. And then I had Woodland Centers, also on Thursday. The financials didn't look good for 2021. Some of that's due to the new going to the CHBC.
CCHBC.
Blah, blah, blah. The new federal program. So they're hoping that'll, help alleviate that in the next year. And then there's not much else. Elected officers, somehow Beth got elected again, and my name wasn't even brought up.
That's because I was at
Like,
home
oh,
on
man.
Zoom
I
and
know.
I wasn't there to defend myself.
I'm like raising my hand going, hey, I'll be board chair. Okay, I did
He
say
might
that.
be fibbing about
I
that.
pulled the Julie thing.
Okay.
Move on. Yep. That's about all I had on Woodlands, really. I mean, it just was a tough financial year because I think we're down 10,000 units in terms of usage. And our CEO Ashley said that's something that's universal through all mental health, but it's another challenge. We're always at the mercy of DHS too,
Yeah.
which they don't do anything right in my mind, so.
And then we have to find a way, we had to raise wages and add some people in order to get licensed for the CCHBC. And hopefully that's gonna come to tuition now. We're hanging our head on a lot of that.
Right, that's why it was
Paid
such a more bleak year than
Right.
just the 10,000 units, which is, I see more of a problem, because it's like,
I
if you're
agree.
not having them use it,
I agree.
you're not making money, and you're not actually helping,
Right.
you're helping less people.
So we had to have our cost base up to get this license, so we'll see what happens in the next 6 months, but it was a bleak year, for sure.
Anything else you can see? It's just
No, I
on
think that was
part?
about it.
And that's all I had is those two.
Steve?
I had a few things we touched on. I already basically gave you nuts and bolts of MRC up in Alexandria. Did have a emergency services legislative committee meeting. There's a lot of acronyms there that I could bore you with, but I think we'll let that slide. But
Thank you.
the other thing that Grove City Care, we did have a budget committee meeting there, and they did find out that I gotta give DHS some credit after we tore them apart here this morning. They did approve an increase up to, basically their grant was always, their DHS, grant was 50,000 a year. They did increase that up to a potential of 60,000 that they could receive this year. So that was, that email came through yesterday, so that would directly impact the budget there. And then EDA, me and Danny talked about that one. A little bit, Grove City Care too, they did hire a gal who was already doing their spreadsheets. The treasurer on the board is now also gonna work 10 hours a week, part-time to help, because of DHS and all the extra paperwork and stuff, eventually your volunteer staff they can't work with people because they're spending all day filling out paperwork and filing reports on stuff, so they did hire somebody to alleviate some of that pressure so they can spend more time with actual residents. EDA we already talked about. The only other thing I would add on that is there's apartments going up in Eden Valley, and they are ahead of schedule, and they're expected to be open by April. So, and I don't know what percentage is already rented, but they had over 20% of them rented early on. I haven't heard now lately, so
And how many units is that?
that's a 20 unit.
And is it the same company as Watkins?
A different company, different contractor, but same blueprint, same
Is it
plan.
income-based rentals or?
No, it's workforce housing, so it'll be single and 2-bedroom, and I think there's 10 garages to go with the 20 unit, so.
So is EDA a part of the ones out there behind the hotel? The old Davis Motors out
East
there
of
and,
Litchfield here.
yep, on the east side of
Are
12.
they,
Or north side
are
of
they
12.
being built, or?
Being built, yeah.
I don't think we got any money in that one.
Okay.
But they are building some in Dasso, which we're not.
Dassel's gonna do the same blueprint as Watkins and.
Where, do you know whereabouts in Dassel that's going?
I don't
I
know
don't know.
exactly where, but it sounds like it's moving forward. It's been moving.
It's the same guy who was gonna do it with Litchfield and then it stalled, so he moved to Dasso basically to get the funds, right?
Yeah. He was working with Minnesota Housing Grants, and them dollars are limited and kinda, you gotta be pretty close to the front door when they come out, so time is always a factor on that timing, so the urgency to get, if he was gonna capture some of them dollars for his projects, he needed to get it done.
I would think Dassel would be a good place because I don't know of any large apartments in Dassel, is there?
Not, I don't.
So that should be a good area to,
I think Dassel, they're in agreement, I mean, it
Yeah.
looks like everything is moving forward there, so. And other than that, I will be going down to St. Paul on Friday morning. I have a AMC meeting. This will be my inauguration meeting with AMC, so they have an I go where I start at 9 and our meeting starts at 10, so they're gonna show us around a little bit. And, it'll be interesting to see what some of this DHS talk is down there, cause it definitely will be talked about.
It's this Friday now,
This Friday,
21st?
the 21st. And other than that, MMDC Mid-Minnesota Development Corp does have some dollars available, grants available up to $3,000, non-matching grants for like emergency services, public safety type grants, so any fire and rescue departments in your districts, if you mention it to them. I think I pretty well got Grove City, Eden Valley, and Watkins covered. And also Grove City Care would probably fall under that, cause of direct care to the public, so. And that is something that we approve. I'll have a meeting next week on Wednesday, MMDC, and that's something we approve quarterly, those grants, so. Well, when them funds run out, they approve 30,000 a year, and when they run out, so. And I don't know at what percentage we're at so far. They approved some already last quarter. I wasn't there the first quarter, so. But we will have, I know there's some coming in for next Wednesday, and that's all I got.
Okay, let's see, I had Woodland, I think Danny went over that, I had CHB, and then I also attended a trustee conference for the Minnesota Hospital Association. On Friday, I just went to one day. A lot of talk about COVID. Jan Malcolm spoke, mostly went over facts and figures, and Minnesota being the hot spot in the world right now for COVID. They had a speaker do talk about healthcare trends, baby boomers leaving and not enough people coming in to take over where the retirees are going. They talked about how to foster relationships with people coming out of schools and different ideas. Loan forgiveness, tuition forgiveness, everybody's in the same boat, long-term care, et cetera, so. That was kinda interesting. That talked about the backlog of testing, and I think since this meeting that has gotten worse, so, yeah. Omicron is doubling every 1.5 to 3 days when I had this meeting 2 weeks ago, so. And the monoclonal has no effect on it, so. Although when you go in and get diagnosed, they say you're positive, and I say, well, which one do I have? And they can't tell you, so, I don't know, There's a new infusion out now, I can't remember the name of, but of course there's a shortage of that, so it's just, everybody in healthcare is going through the same thing as far as staffing shortages and, overworked, fatigued, and hospitals being full, so that's what I had. I didn't do anything else, so. Anybody else got anything to become before the board? If not, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Schmidt. Second by
Second.
Commissioner Schiefelbein. We're adjourned.